I was approaching like 34 years old when I met her, and being a people pleaser, just wanting everybody to like me. And when I saw potential in this relationship, I kind of just put what was important to make me to the side to see if I could be this knight in shining armor for her. Tried to understand what I thought she wanted, and I did something that was in the end dishonest to myself. So people were like, yeah, I mean, you have the heart, but you're gonna be good later. Just keep at it. And so I was going to Puerto Rico for spring break with my friends, and I was a senior in college, and I just thought, I'm gonna be called Luego, because everyone says I'm gonna be good later, and I like speaking Spanish. And so 15 years later, or however many years, I'm still that artist, and I've changed so much. If you listen to my early stuff to now, it's a triumphant record.
Yeah.
I conquered my own personal demons. I reinvented myself, reinvigorated myself, refound my purpose.
If I were to tell you that through Story 512, we've met people who have philosophy degrees from Duke, MBAs from USC, who have released 6 studio albums, and others who have had a successful career at one of the largest consulting firms in the world, you would probably think I'm talking about at least 3 or 4 different people. Today's guest has all of those elements true of his story and more. So I'm so excited for you to meet Patrick, who has written and released music under the name Luego. And if you're enjoying stories like these, be sure to like and subscribe so we can continue to bring more to you. Here's Patrick. For people to hear your story, because there are so many different parts to you that I think that stood out to us. You don't fit like a mold, or this is what I think of when I think Austin musician. It's like, oh no. So I'm excited to dive into it.
Yeah.
But if we just even went chronologically, you're from Dallas originally.
Born and raised in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
Yes,
so talk to us a little bit about family of origin, what childhood was like in Dallas.
Yeah, I grew up, born and raised in Dallas, Texas. Had 2 older sisters. It was a great place to grow up. A lot of kids on my block. My dad was a lawyer. My mom was a nurse, and then she retired she stopped being a nurse once she had her 3rd kid, which is me.
Yeah.
It was just a great place to grow up. I played piano. I did singing. I played sports. And then I left Dallas when I was 18 to go to college and didn't really come back after that. But I remember ever since I was, a kid staring at my mom's records, these Beatles records, and looking at their outfits and listening to the music. So I was always pretty entranced by a rock star. But then when I was in high school, my senior year of high school, I saw a Coldplay show.
Yeah.
It was when they weren't too big, so it was like a 3,000 person room, so it was still pretty small.
Wow,
but they completely blew me away, and I saw that as peak existence, to have lights and a band and just amazing performances. So I think at that point, senior year of high school, I thought that's peak. So I want to try and get to that point.
Yeah, okay. And you said you're doing sports in high school too, right?
I was a serious runner in high school.
Okay.
Which honestly is
long
a performance.
Distance or track?
Yeah, long
or,
distance,
okay.
cross country, track, but long distance. I mean, I was tiny. But that's a performance in and of itself, just giving it your all. And mostly after every race, I would throw up because I just ran myself to shreds. And so I think I was always a performer, always loved sports and athletics.
Yeah. And did you already feel at this point maybe there was a deepest love for music, but maybe it wasn't encouraged to pursue that, or how would you describe?
Music as a hobby, I think, was certainly encouraged. Staying busy, staying focused was encouraged in my household. But in terms of making that a career, certainly not a point of discussion. That was something that I wanted for myself, and was not a practical pursuit. So I wasn't direct support from the parents, but it wasn't super negative. It was just my own pursuit.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So talk to me then. Did you go Was it right to Duke or?
Yeah, I went right to Duke. I didn't take a year off. Honestly, if I could do it over again, I probably would have taken a few years off. I would have actually just gone straight to pursuing music after high school. Because when you're young, you can live on a lot less, and as a starting musician, you live on very little.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went straight to Duke, which was obviously an amazing experience. So many smart people, so many different types of people. Chose to major in philosophy, which maybe isn't the most practical degree, but I learned so much about thinking. I got to minor in music. It was amazing. And then after that, I stayed in North Carolina for 6 years because it was an affordable place to live. My band was there. It was easy to tour on the east of the Mississippi. 30 of the 45 biggest cities in the U.S. are east of the Mississippi. Wow. Therefore, it was a lot easier to tour because there was less driving to do.
That makes a lot of sense. So how did you get connected with your first band then?
I mean, my first bandmates were locals in Durham, North Carolina, as well as my college friends who were, they were probably going to go to grad school, but they weren't quite ready to do that. So they gave it a year or two with me trying to make that work, which was super fun, super fulfilling, but also extremely challenging.
Yeah. Okay.
And when you're not making any money,
right,
it's hard to get people to work for you.
Yeah. And are you trying to do music like full time at this point, right after Duke?
Or right after college. Yeah, I had an opportunity to like work in a bank, but before I even started, I knew that wasn't for me, and I knew I'd been gaining some steam locally, musically. So I just said I'd give myself a year to do that, and worked every odd job I could to keep the lights on, but mostly tried to be in cover bands. Just because you could make money and play music full time. Of course, that I wanted to play my own music, but I also wanted to be better at playing with people. And if you have to play 3-hour gigs 5 nights a week, you're gonna get a lot better, a lot quicker, and you'll develop chemistry with the people who you're playing with, which again is something that will help you take your music to the next level, is having that chemistry with the people you play with.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you're 6 years, you said, in Carolina?
6 years, so 4 years of college, 6 years in North Carolina. Then I kind of realized that I wasn't, living the life that I wanted to live. And so I moved to Los Angeles and worked in music licensing. But really, I started studying for the GMAT so I could get my MBA because I wanted to live a life that was more extravagant than one where I wasn't able to pay my power bill. Multiple times in North Carolina, I didn't have money to pay my power bill, so my power was shut off, which is a really humiliating experience.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that balance of like pursuing a passion, pursuing a dream, and the reality of life, like just conflicts for so many people's stories, right? And you're like right in there.
So it was pretty wild.
So you're in Los Angeles then for...
So Los Angeles for 8 or 9 years, 9 years, I think. And I put songwriting on hold for about 5 years because I was switching my careers. I had to change my narrative from I am a rock star, I started a record label, I run bands, I book tours, to I'm a businessman, you can hire me, I'm reliable, I'm not interested in the arts. I had my hair short, very buttoned up. But it led me to my career and changed the trajectory of my life. I'm so thankful that I got to get a master's degree at USC, another prestigious school.
Yeah.
Love that school. Very grateful to have gone there and met the people that I met. And Los Angeles as a city, no matter what your interests are, is extremely inspiring. The ambition, the weather, the geography, the talent, and I mean in every aspect of any category, top talent is in LA. Whatever you're interested in, you can probably learn from the best there and get pretty close to them. So I was always learning, but once I had started at Accenture, after about a year or two, once I kind of established myself, then I started writing songs and going back to my true essence, which is songwriting.
Okay, that makes sense. And so talk to me about your day job at Accenture.
Oh man, it's super intense. I'm in Excel 40% of the time. I'm in PowerPoint 20% of the time, and then I'm talking to people across the world, mostly in India, Philippines, Warsaw, Lisbon, about doing work. So Accenture is a professional services company. Yep. The moment I talk about my job with anybody, their eyes gloss over. What do? I work in consulting.
Yeah.
Okay. Nobody really knows what that is. Yeah. So it's professional services. Accenture has 400,000 employees globally. We're a $45 billion a year company. We provide services for every horizontal, every vertical, every industry. I'm focused on hyper-growth platforms based in Silicon Valley. So any social media company, we do all types of work for them. Marketing, inside sales, outside sales, engineering, supply chain management, procurement. And my role is a solution architect. So I'm the first contact with the client. The client explains their problem for me. Yeah. Most times clients don't even know what their issue is. So I'm gathering information, understanding, what we have to solve that issue, bring that to the sales team. Then the sales team drives that home, and then I basically talk to our delivery teams, the people in India, Philippines, Warsaw, where we can provide highly skilled work for cheaper than it would be in the US. And say, how do we do this work? How much is it going to cost? Have we done this type of work? So it's both internal and external. And the job is unique because it requires obviously hard skills, Excel modeling, understanding how we can make a profit, but also soft skills, persuasiveness, friendliness, approachability, ability to communicate clearly, ability to communicate to all types of people, whether they're managing directors or they're fresh out of college, people doing simple, repeatable work. So I'm really thankful for it because I would say that I've improved as a human working there, just dealing with a ton of pressure, dealing with multi-million-dollar deals, having to communicate with across different cultures, across different levels of seniority, and just becoming a better communicator. That's helped me when I now go to record a music video or a song. I can have ambition, I can have vision, I can communicate that vision, and I have the ability to execute it all by inspiring everybody to do great work.
Wow. Yeah. See, my eyes are not glazed over as you described that, because I'm like, to me, you seem like an anomaly, and I don't know, maybe there's many people like you, but
I feel like a unicorn.
Spreadsheets, and I'm a true creative. Like to the switch from the music industry to Accenture is like
it's taken a lot of work, but I'm really excited or proud that I've been able to compartmentalize or incorporate all the parts that are me into what I do. You just have to be able to set personal boundaries or have areas of topics that you don't, discuss when you're with certain audiences. Know your audience.
Sure. Did you get an MBA from USC? Is that what
I got my MBA from USC, my undergrad from Duke.
Okay. And when you talk about like this, career switch, is that something where you just saw an opportunity to have a stable income, could be good at it, or is there something about your consulting career that is also like meaningful or energizing to you that you enjoy about it?
What is energizing about my job is the prestige of our clients, of our company, the intensity and ambition of the people that I work with. I work with really smart, hardworking people. And you are the average of the 5 people closest to you. And you can interpret that however you want. But I'm just glad that almost everybody that I work with, that I interact with, is a high achiever. Yeah. Because there's a lot that I want to achieve, and I want to be with people that can understand that and support that, and I can support that. I never thought I was going to go into consulting when I was getting my MBA, but the opportunity was there, and I'd been working really hard. I was really focused. I'm super intense, and I'll be in the front row of the class every day. I'll be interacting with the teacher. If I'm paying to go to school, those relationships that I build with those teachers are going to be lifelong. And I still reach out to some of those teachers and ask them. Same with everyone that I work with at Accenture. Yes, they're paying me, but if I'm going to put this much time and energy into something, then I'm certainly going to build strong relationships that will help me improve and help them improve. So I took the job because, I wanted to make more money, and I wanted to work with smart people, and I wanted to be around ambitious people. The job is fulfilling, but to be honest, the most fulfilling part of my job is when people tell me, good job, aside from the paycheck. Yeah. And obviously the relationships that I build.
Right.
But yeah, I think it was just something about maturing and understanding that the more money you have, the more ambition. Or sorry, the more money you have, the more money is more ambition because you have more opportunity, more space. And I hate to say that because like true creators might argue with that and say, no, you just make art for art's sake. Yeah, but if you have more money, then you have more ability to create grander visions.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm curious. Even to pause real quick, there's this high achiever streak in you, this grit kind of grind throughout. I mean, even long distance running young, But to
Pushing
two very
yourself.
prestigious schools, music career, now your consulting career. Like you have this. Has that been a part of you as long as you can remember? Was there a switch at any point for you, or you just?
I mean, my dad was a really hard-working lawyer. He's retired now, but 80 to 100. He was a partner at a major law firm. He worked his, I want to say ass off, but I don't know.
Yeah.
He worked his ass off.
Yeah.
And he always taught me to just do my best, work my ass off, and the results will come. And was always giving me all kinds of nuggets. Like Abraham Lincoln said, I will work hard and put my head down, and perhaps my chance will come. So you don't expect success to come, but you are prepared should the success arrive because you've done all the work. 10,000 hours. You put 10,000 hours into something, you'll be a master. So my dad is super intense. He takes 80 vitamins a day, gets up at 5 a.m. every day, drinks a pot of coffee. He's an incredible communicator, an incredible hard worker, and I admire him in so many ways. I think being the only boy, being the youngest, being encouraged by my dad, being inspired by Michael Jordan at a young age. He's the GOAT, and I wanted to be like that.
I love that. Well, think about, so Los Angeles was a big part of your journey, your story. You said 8 or 9 years there.
9 years, I developed so much professionally, but also creatively, and the friendships that I kept. My tattoo artist, the guy who cuts my hair, my producer, my main bandmates are in LA. And I identify with LA almost more than any other city that I've lived in because I got my master's, I got my career, I found like a band. Of course, I'll play with anybody that's on my level here, anywhere, but yeah, LA, I identify with Los Angeles. Yeah, absolutely.
And then what brought you to Austin?
Well, born and raised in Dallas, so glad to be back in Texas. I always knew I could only live in Austin, Nashville, or LA because of music.
Right.
And Accenture has a big footprint in Austin.
Okay.
So I could just make the switch and keep my job. And another reason was it was in the middle of the pandemic and I was in the middle of a divorce, so I needed a fresh start.
Yeah. Wow. How would you describe the similarities or differences between Austin and LA?
I mean, they're very different, and people try and say Austin is the LA of Texas, but it's really not. If anything, Dallas is the LA of Texas.
Interesting.
Just because of money, ambition, culture. I would say, yes, there's a lot of materialism and focus on appearance in LA. Mm-hmm. Of course, that's here, but LA is where I go to be inspired. But the traffic, the cost of living, and the parking really just kill it, kill you. It's just such a bear to deal with because everybody you talk with has been in traffic for an hour, couldn't find a parking spot, and they have no money, so they're going to be in kind of a rough mood. Mm-hmm. I go to Austin to recharge. I've restored and rejuvenated and become Patrick 2.0 since I've been in Austin. I would say you can get more things on demand in LA than you can here. Perfect example. And I'm not someone who gets a lot of massages, but in LA, if I ever wanted a massage, I could call and in 15 minutes to get a massage. In Austin, I have to book it 2 weeks in advance.
Interesting. Yeah.
If that could be like a small microcosm.
Yeah.
Austin has everything that LA has, but it's not as immediate.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool. No, I hear that same comparison of like Austin and LA, and then people from LA say like what you just said, like no, it's
Austin's
not.
More like Santa Barbara. Yeah. It's beautiful. There's beautiful people. It feels small. It's kind of boutique in a lot of ways, where LA is just much more excess. Where you would say Dallas is much more excess.
Yeah.
Or you could say Austin's maybe a little bit San Francisco as well. in terms of just the tech capital and the companies moving here and the cost of living.
Sure, yeah, especially today.
Yeah.
So you just mentioned it, and to the degree you're comfortable talking about it, but the divorce you described as a pretty before or after defining season of your life. So
defining season of my life, I love it. Yeah, I mean it's a mind melter. It shaped me. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me, but I'm an alchemist. I turn pain into beauty. I turn trauma into something beautiful. And actually, and honestly, anybody should think about this. The worst thing that happens to you is actually the best thing that happens to you, because it causes you to hit bottom and just take time for yourself and heal. At least that's what it was for me. It was extremely heartbreaking and painful. I got really hurt. And yeah, I don't even know where to begin, but it was a really challenging experience. It happened really quickly. The meet, engagement, marriage all happened very fast. And then the move to make the divorce also happened very fast. But then because of the pandemic and because of the state of California, there was like a 7 or 8 month like cool off period before it could be officially, in the courts and official. And the crazy part about it is met in May, engaged in July, married in September, filed for divorce in November, moved to Austin at the end of December with the person I was divorcing. So for the first 3 months, I got yelled at every day. And just that messes you up. When you get yelled at and told that you're not an artist every day, it just messes with your head. It changes your body chemistry. It took me 4 tries to leave her, because when you're in that kind of unhealthy situation, it's hard to leave. Finally, on the 4th try, left, complete physical separation, and that's when the healing journey began. I've been on a healing journey for the past 1.5 years. In that healing journey, I've recorded 10 new songs. I'd say they're my 10 greatest songs. I got the sleeve tattoo. I bought a house. I'm healthier than I've ever been. I completely simplified my life to 3 things: Accenture, fitness, and music. And I'm going to focus on what I love and also my view of my music. I am my audience. Be your own audience. Make the music that you want to hear, that you think is awesome. Because I was forever a people pleaser. Didn't set boundaries. Tried to make music that I thought people would think was cool. And now I'm just in a really healthy place with myself, knowing my music, and knowing that, I am my own audience. I'm making what I think is badass and awesome. And if people like it, great. Obviously, I have financial and commercial aspirations with my music, but above that, I have artistic ambitions. I have a vision that I want to realize, and I'm realizing it. And as long as I can do that and work with amazing people, then that's the most fulfilling for me.
What are some of the things that you would say you've learned about yourself in the last couple of years?
Shoot, no one will respect your boundaries until you set them. Love boundaries. Love over communicating those boundaries. Pay attention to red flags. Don't turn red flags green. If someone shows you who they are, don't give them 3 more chances to show the same thing. Trust pattern, not potential. Yeah, just simplifying, just knowing who you are, and just be a good person. I mean, I've always been a good person. I've always done that, but just big believer in therapy. Everybody should be in therapy, even if everything is fine. So I've been on and off therapy since I was in my late 20s, and once this relationship started going downhill, I found a really good therapist, and I'm still with him and meet him every couple of weeks, every 3 weeks. When it was the worst, I was meeting twice a week, and then once a week, and then once every 2 weeks, and now it's like once every 3 to 4 weeks. Therapy, journaling, time and space alone, silence, songwriting, alchemy. I had so much pain and trauma that I needed to process and understand and deal with. And so I would, time and space and silence. For the first month after the final separation, I was in shock that I wasn't being yelled at, that it was quiet.
Yeah.
But feeling your feelings, feeling your pain, processing that pain. Because every time you get your heart broken, you fail, your heart gets crusted over, and your soul and persona is a lot older and less flexible. Until you can process that pain and break through all that calcium that's built over your heart, you're gonna, be less open. So just did a lot of personal work to stay young at heart by processing, all of my unresolved traumas.
Wow. No, it's really powerful. And I'm curious, and if you don't have a specific answer, this is okay. But I think there's something really relatable about it. May be a person, a relationship, but a lot of people, we get stuck in kind of toxic patterns or toxic connections to something and don't do anything different. We stay in the cycle. I'm curious, did you learn anything about like you? So not even specific to maybe, what your ex was bringing to the table, but man, what was it in me that even led me to perhaps be susceptible to that type of a person or that type of a relationship? Or
yeah, well, I was approaching like 34 years old when I met her, and being a people pleaser, just wanting everybody to like me. And when I saw potential in this relationship, I kind of just put what was important to make me to the side to see if I could be this knight in shining armor for her. Tried to understand what I thought she wanted, and I did something that was in the end dishonest to myself. So I don't know, I always wanted to please my dad. I always wanted my dad to say, good job, because he's so successful. He's such a badass. And yeah, sometimes he says, I'm proud of you, but like, because since he's not artistic and he doesn't understand like my ambition in the music arena, I think I was just always, and I think this is common in a lot of people. I just want to be told good job by my dad.
Wow, yeah, yeah, it's incredibly common. Maybe all people.
Yeah. Father-son relationship, complicated. Mother-son, simple. Father-son, complicated. So I know I kind of digressed, but I think being the youngest, being the only boy, having a high-achieving father who, obviously wants his son to succeed the same way that he did, led me to, having ambition and wanting to be like Michael Jordan led me to kind of be so hyper-focused on success that I lost myself in the journey. And then this is even one more weird thing, is that when I was 10, I had a traumatic brain injury, and I was in a coma for a week. It was very scary for my family. And it messed up this part of my frontal lobe that like has to do with both fine motor skills and focus. And I have a really intense focus. Like if I want to do something, if I want to get a good grade, if I want to get into a good school, if I want to get a good job, like I will focus on that like a maniac. And I was always intense and focused, but my sister, who's got her master's in social work and also is like a case manager, and a few other people who have worked in the medical field have wondered if maybe this maniacal focus came from that brain injury, where I kind of lose maybe sight of myself. And then I guess with age and maturity and therapy, I've been able to regain focus on myself, but still have that mania to succeed.
Wow. And I appreciate the vulnerability, because for all of us, whether it's, a loneliness, an expectation of culture, I think I'm supposed to, be married at some point, so I'm going to force and make it work, or, an expectation of a parent. I think a father might be the most powerful of like, man, I'm going to go make them proud. And there's good
still
in
trying.
that. There's good, there's good desires in that, right? Like it's not all bad, but it can get, messed up along the way too when we start compromising on all of those. So no, I really appreciate you sharing those pieces. Maybe if we wanted to end with just what you're working on right now, if you want to take us through either any of the pieces of your most recent project or
what I'm most excited about. So first off, we're in the middle of releasing my 6th studio album. I believe it's my finest work to date. Unlike all of my previous releases, I'm releasing these one song at a time every 4 to 6 weeks. And that's because I took an MBA approach to understanding music marketing today, from TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and I spoke to experts in that area. I would find 23-year-old, YouTube or TikTok sensations. I'd message them saying, "Hey, I'll pay you $50 for half an hour of your time. I just kind of want to understand what your approach was and validate my approach with you and get some feedback." And they've been really responsive to that. And I'm not finding huge success on the internet, but I do think that my content is becoming much better. And that's because I studied with the greats. And I think that's been really helpful. And so in releasing these songs every 4 to 6 weeks, I'm able to have a music video and like an interview portion that I create myself with each song, so I can kind of give each song a chance to shine. Of course, the promotional time period for all these songs is forever, but so that's been really unique. And then I decided I wanted to do like a real full-on music video, and I wanted to have dancers because I wanted to have a physical piece to my music. And so through a really interesting path, I went down Google and I looked up hip-hop dancers in the Austin area. I found this dance troupe based out of San Antonio, got on the phone with the choreographer, director, just said, "Hey, I have a music video. This is the idea that I want. Can you do that?" And she was receptive to it. And so then we spoke about it, and then we had 2 rehearsals, and then we shot a music video called 4 Minute Mile. I released that 2 weeks ago. It's my finest achievement to date, and I feel like I found what I love the most, and that is to make an amazing song with an amazing producer, an amazing band, and then to make an amazing music video with an amazing videographer, choreographer. And now, so that video was great. It was amazing, but it was our first time doing that. So it was great, but there are areas where we could improve. And I love having like long-term relationships with my collaborators and my inner circle, because you get to know each other and you can elevate more than just working with new people each time. So I'm recording my second music video a week from yesterday. I had my first rehearsal for this new choreography on Friday. We'll have one more rehearsal on Friday, and then we'll shoot it on Saturday. And everything about it, every piece of choreography is now telling the story lyrically through a physical move. And it's the perfect merriment, music and dance, I think, to realize something that can last forever in this video. So, yeah, it's the title track of the album. Every song that I've released has been chronological in terms of the album, but also each song gets better. So on October 28th is when it will all come out, but I'm shooting it in a week, and yeah, that's what an amazing collaboration. And that's when I realized the magic of collaboration is when you want to impress your other collaborators. So I want to impress the choreographer and the dancers with my song and just my story and like my look, and they want to impress me with their hard work. And again, one other really unique thing I found is you work with people in their early 20s because they have limited life experience and thus boundless ambition. As you've learned, I'm a kind of eccentric, unique person. I have boundless ambition despite all of my failures. And so I come to them and I say, "Hey, I want to make the most astonishingly great music video." And they're like, "Yeah, let's do that." And they're not jaded yet, so they're willing to do that. But it's been an extremely rewarding experience, and honestly, I hope I can continue to do more videos with them because it's a really amazing collaboration.
Well, and you working with young creatives, it made me think of the name Luego. Tell me where that came from and what that means again.
Great, yeah. So it means later, and it's because when I was like 18, I would play music for anybody, but I was really just starting to write songs, so I wasn't that good. So people were like, "Yeah, I mean, you have the heart, but you're gonna be good later. Just keep at it." And so I was going to Puerto Rico for spring break with my friends, and I was a senior in college, and I just thought, I'm going to be called Luego because everyone says I'm going to be good later, and I like speaking Spanish. And so 15 years later, or however many years, I'm still that artist, and I've changed so much. If you listen to my early stuff to now, I used to sound like Bob Dylan, and then I sounded like The Strokes, and now it's more like Post Malone. And that's, again, just embracing what I listen to. What I'm listening to is a lot more modern. I'm listening to a lot more hip-hop, Post Malone. Of course, my foundation is Bob Dylan and The Strokes. I love great songwriters, and I love rock stars, and all of those people are like that.
I love that. I love that story as you're pursuing now in the stage of your career. I think it's so amazing that name's been so fitting for you in the journey.
Thanks. It's kind of hard to pronounce. Alexa doesn't understand it. And like most people can't spell it. I wish I could have had a simpler name, but it's who I am.
I think it's great. I love it. It just fits your story, so I love it. And you had said too earlier, you said at times like your greatest pains sometimes are like the greatest parts of your story too. A lot of your most recent story has inspired this current project, right? It's been a
I mean, you could probably say this is a bit of a breakup record, but also it's just about it's a triumphant record.
Yeah.
You know, I conquered my own personal demons. I reinvented myself, reinvigorated myself, refound my purpose. You know, again, I've always been me, but this is Patrick 2.0. I'm so glad to have met you on the other side of all the growth that I've done in the past year and a half, and really honored to be able to share it.
Wow. Well, I think, final question, although maybe I'll ask another one, but probably final question. You've had a pretty consistent pattern of putting a goal out there, putting a dream out there, and then keeping it front and center and going after it. And so if somebody's watching this video, it doesn't have to be in music world, but they have some type of dream, some type of goal, big or small to them, what would you say about going and pursuing something meaningful?
The greatest trait in a leader, a successful leader, is clarity of vision and then the ability to execute on that vision. And so for me and for you who's following a dream, when you're working on a dream that no one can see but you, it's going to be a lonely road. It's great to have mentors. It's great to develop your dream, but no one is going to believe in your dream like you believe in your dream. No one's going to have the motivation to succeed with their dream except for you. So you need to just find the inner strength to be aware that I'm working on a vision no one else can see but me, and I'm not going to stop till I reach that, and no one is going to understand it like I understand it. But of course, you have to have done a lot of work to be able to have clarity of vision and then to have the ability to execute. Because we have ambitious people, we have people that have great visions, but to realize that vision takes a whole other toolkit. So you have to just believe in yourself and watch a lot of motivational videos.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's real. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, man, thank you. I mean, from our pre-interview, I was like, you just don't fit in a specific box. There's so many parts to you and your story, and I was fascinated just hearing, your story. And so thanks for your vulnerability. Thanks for the inspiration. Really appreciate your time and sitting down with us.
Likewise. Thank you so much.